Thank you so much, guys. At the desk, we're about to do a game hot swap, and I just realized that I believe... There we go. Yes, Pulse is a little bit shorter than I am, though his hair is magnificent. We got to make sure we're at eye level for this one. We're coming in even in this game because it's LGD versus BLG coming at you. The game has already started in Hangzhou, so we have got a lot of catching up to do. Like we said, this is the tortoise versus the hare. LGD, the sleeping dragon, is awakening. And as an old-time fan of LGD way back in the day, this is something that's getting a little bit scary, seeing this team start to come to life here. And BLG, they're starting to come to life here in the LPL as well.
Yeah, for me, this series is really a crossroads. You know, both of these teams are on very different or on similar trajectories. They're both kind of middle of the pack. Yes, BLG are currently ranked 3rd. LG are currently ranked 5th within their conference, but they're kind of that definitive line. You know, we beat the teams that are underneath us, but we can't quite crack the top teams. And so whoever wins here kind of gets to classify themselves as the other half, you know, closer towards that top echelon that they want to be, because both these teams had their moment in the spotlight, Dom. You know, you had 2015 LGD going off to Worlds and Summer Champions. Then you had 2016 Eimy over Team WE. They get their spot at Worlds. But since then, they've just been chasing it.
Well, this is the chance for them to try to catch up, of course, as BLG, the miracle makers of 2016 and even somewhat in 2017. They've still always got that charm to them, that chance to pull a rabbit out of the hat. Of course, AmazingJ in the top lane going to be leading the charge for them. On the other side, LGD, they're going to try to shut that down as much as possible.
Yeah, it's really a split map. You mentioned AmazingJ. If we're talking about LGD, we also need to talk about the bot lane. So AJ, Athena, the solo lanes, they're all of the damage for BLG. AJ has 27% of their team's damage. Athena has 29%. They're respectively 2 of the highest in the solo position, whereas Jinjiao does the lowest damage percentage, lowest DPM, and has the lowest priority of any ADC in the league versus Imp. Now, Imp has pretty middle-of-the-road stats. Nothing is really jumping out, but it's more of a byproduct that LGD can't quite seem to get those wins.
Ooh, Yuuki flashing away from a knock-up there, but still exerting dominance over Athena. Of course, this is Yuuki starting over Nanju today, so it seems like LGD seem to have found a little more comfort with Yuuki in the mid lane.
Yeah, he's really been the favorite. He's been their starter for the last series. Last time we did see LGD, it was their 3-game series against Snake, and he played in all of those games, so I expect to see him going forward. He's kind of been not necessarily the switch that have allowed LGD to kind of come back to life, grab some more of these wins, but he is a concrete pivot to play around. It's still much more about the PYL, the Imp show, those skirmishes that Clement was talking about.
And it is so interesting that you did bring up that bottom lane, Jinjiao's stats being so low, considering that Caitlyn was the 2nd pick for BLG, very high on the priority list, at the very least something safe, even with the likes of Ezreal up.
Yeah,
so
and it's not even just the Caitlyn pick that really stands out to me. It's also the Ryze and the Cho'Gath. Part of the big problems for BLG is that they've been so static in their solo lanes. Although, hold on a second, Eimy.
Oh yeah, prowling around. He knows SKS is somewhere, but tragically, Tremor Sense only giving you the approximate location of a champion. Look at the damage that he's managing to do, though, as Yuki's actually trying to chase. Oh no! He doesn't place down the Demacian standard and just manages to poke himself forward. Athena has to flash away after SKS gives up first blood.
And you can even see the support started to roam up to try to get involved with that mid lane play, but it's just as the analyst has said, and I'm going to echo them again. These compositions, it was going to be about the mid lane. It's about that Cassiopeia, but it's also about the Rek'Sai. Eimy needs to make an impact on this champion, start that snowball, so we can hopefully get more of that offensive itemization that Rek'Sai's in the LPL tend to go towards, because if she doesn't get it, then she's just going to be kind of the less relevant Jarvan.
Yeah, the knockup bot. Except mine has a cooldown, and I can't put up terrain. Well, we'll have to see if Eimy can manage to pull something off. In the past, he's relied on champions like Zac to really force engages for fights for LGD, but this time a much more straightforward approach.
But it is a different look in the fact that it does give Yuuki a lot more priority. And like I said, there's a lot of different changes. We now see SKS going and giving AJ some attention. This is expected, but not on the Cho'Gath.
Coming immediately out of base and pathing right towards the top lane, BLG. Seems like they've already got their priorities set up.
And it's an easy lane to gank. You got the bounce castle there. You have the knock up from Rupture as well as the CC chain with the flag and drag. So it makes sense that you're going to be punishing that Ornn who's going to be pushed forward a lot of the time. And what's interesting to me is that Jinoo and AJ are both playing tanks. You know, coming into this matchup, I was grabbing all the Vladimir stats, the Camille stats. I thought that we may even get some a little bit of Gnar, some Gangplank. Nowhere to be found. AJ now reaching for the Cho'Gath that have been BLG's thorn in their side because they are such a heavy prioritizing team on Vladimir. And starting to expand his champion pool, which has been one of their primary problems. Yeah,
well, we very well could see the likes of this in game number 2 because that Camille and Gangplank were banned away by BLG on the red side. And they knew Jinoo was first. Yeah, you're right. Of course, that Gnar. So, hey, I mean, this is only game 1 in the series, and we're only 6 minutes in, so we could perhaps see a bit of change. But taking a look at these team compositions on our screen, because we didn't quite get to rush through the champions, like, what are we sort of looking for these teams? Because I see scaling, I see engage, I see tanks.
So let's start with LGD. LGD kind of went for a more traditional 5v5, but they do have skirmish ability with how they use Abyssal Voyage. Clement said it on the analyst desk. I 100% agree with his analysis of how LGD like to fight, and it's like the 3v3s, the 4v4s. I like the fact that they went for a 5v5 comp because they're against BLG of all teams, and BLG, even though they have the ability to run a 1-4 or a 1-3-1 with this comp, probably going to be a 1-4 with Ryze. They never do. They'll always set themselves up like this, and then they'll just run 5v5 at you because that's just their style. Yeah. They are a bit more siege. They are a bit more late-game scaling potential, but I like LGD's read to say, okay, we're against BLG. You know, normally Jinoo is on a split pusher like a Camille, like a Vladimir, like a GP, but this time around, we're going to put him on the Ornn. We're going to punish Jinjiao, and we're going to make sure that we also grab that safety pick for Imp, because then the Ornn can't be used against us.
Well, that's, of course, Imp on the likes of Varus, not exactly huge mobility, but like you said, if they ever find the opportunity to catch someone, it is a lot of crowd control and a lot of damage.
But as we see the junglers kind of skirmishing back and forth, hold on.
Oh, Eimy tries to sidestep the knock-up, a delayed snare from Athena, but Yuuki with the save and Jinoo. He's going to try to turn this into a fight. SKS with the stopwatch stalls it out, but there's not anywhere for him to go. Yuuki over the wall. He's going to be stunned as Road roams up and gets another kill for him, and SKS burning down to the red buff, chased by Eimy, who flashes back and saved by PYL. It's a 1-for-1, but Realm Warp looks to change things up. Road somehow doesn't make it. Athena with the snare, and a stopwatch allows Eimy to escape.
So everyone getting involved, save for the AD carries. Unfortunately for LGD, it's Road that makes the rotation first. And what's interesting about Road is where Jinjiao stats have left a lot to be desired, Road has crazy good stats as a support. He does some of the most damage, and he's involved in the most early fights. So obviously LGD, they went for one of their patented skirmishes right there. They thought it was going to be a 3v3. Guess what? Road likes to unlock himself from early lanes. Doesn't matter if he's on his signature Bard or if he's on the case of the Braum.
Trekking his sled all the way up to the top lane. Santa Braum has got a present for LGD, but this time it's answered back 1-for-1. And that means that Imp got plenty of time to sit down and farm bottom and keep pace with Jinjiao.
It also means that he got the experience advantage. Now, you see that he didn't use it to catch people off, but a lot of teams like to use with Ashe and Varus. They'll kick the support out of the lane a little bit earlier and then maybe try to catch someone off guard by having that enchanted crystal arrow or having the chains of corruption. So always have to watch out for it, and it is a trick that PYL and Imp do like to use.
Yeah, certainly Imp. Never one to just sit back and get a superior CS lead over his opponents. Of course, we have been seeing Imp step up massively over these last few weeks here in the LPL, though, of course, we're just coming back from the Chinese New Year. But Imp has been putting in huge work for his team. His fire has been reignited, and on the likes of Varus, he could put up some massive numbers in this game, especially if he gets a little bit of love from the likes of Eimy down here.
As well as the mid lane also roaming over. So Eimy and Yuuki, because they have priority of the mid lane, they are starting to move in, set down the triangle vision, start sweeping at this jungle. So maybe even a secondary blue buff contest, or just finding a pick and using the advantage that Imp and PYL have created bot side.
Well, Unsealed Spellbook is going to get Road back into that bottom lane. Teleport is still ready for AmazingJ up top and Jinoo. So if a fight were to erupt, I think we can safely assume everyone would join in.
But one of these champions is much more viable in the 5v5, and it's definitely the Ornn with that ultimate. Yes, this is 8.2. His nerfs have come through, so lost a little bit of time on that cooldown for the ultimate. I believe 30 seconds at max level. But there's nothing like a giant ram that comes through the entire screen versus being really reliant on the Rupture if you're a Cho'Gath joining the bottom side.
That being said, there's still plenty of opportunity to catch the likes of a Varus. I can't count the number of times I've been caught by the edge of that Rupture hitbox and sat there saying, there's no way that hit me. There's no way.
It's also the fact that the 5v5, because I do expect that even though BLG do have those tools like the Ryze to play a side lane, that it will come down to 5v5s, is that LGD can go front to back much easier than BLG can. BLG have a lot more tools, though, to kind of sculpt the fight how they want. You know, they can get to the back line with the Ryze ultimate, they can get to the back line with Jarvan, whereas with LGD, you just kind of place your tanks in front of you. Yeah, Eimy can maybe dive back in, but that's really about it. Otherwise, you're just going to sit in front of Varus. Cassiopeia is going to stand next to him. You're going to try to walk him down.
It's something that we talk about so much with team compositions when we see how they actually play out, but we also have to consider how the fights actually break out in the first place. Is it LGD who are the ones engaging with their team comp already sculpted, or is it BLG the ones who are engaging and catching LGD out of position? So perhaps that, I know this isn't a word, but re-maneuverability, the ability to change depending on what the enemy team is doing and perhaps predict how the fight is going to work out, is so important in seeing how this fight breaks out. And for that, we have to look for the supports. PYL is the guy who's been placing down wards so often. I know we used to harp on him for being the guy who just kind of wanders off and dies placing a solar ward. But he has cleaned it up a little bit. I mean, you and I were talking about this beforehand, and he's playing smart again.
Yeah, it's not as I feel like it's more of his synergy with Eimy, that they're linking up a bit better, that PYL's no longer going on those solo missions blindly to ward. It also does help that he's on a champion like Tahm Kench, so if he does want to go, you know, on maybe one of those PYL adventures, he's not going to punish too hard, he's got the gray health for himself. But the thing is the reason why I love Kench as a priority pick, and Clement talked about it a bit on the desk, is that PYL is still the captain. He's still the shot caller. When LGD really start to speed up, it's because he's involved with the play. So when you put him on a champion that is able to not only dictate skirmishes, like we are fighting now and fighting into the backline, but then also has the safety to ward whenever, like you could see on your screen right now, good things happen for LGD naturally. He's never a guy that you can put on a passive support. I would never see them as a Janna Caitlyn team.
Yeah. As we just mentioned, PYL and Eimy linking arm in arm and trotting forward to get some wards, but Bilibili Gaming actually at the exact same time grouping up as about 3, maybe 4 if you include the Caitlyn in bottom lane, to get some wards of their own. They've currently got control of the river, so LGD are locked into their own side of the jungle.
But BLG need to be very careful right now if these AD carries wander up and it turns into a 4v4, possibly a 5v5 with TPs, because the Rage Blade is completed for Varus. This is usually at the point in the game where teams complete that single item on the champions like the Kog'Maw, like the Varus, and they basically say, I'm strong enough now. We can fight whoever, whenever, and wherever. So fortunately, it's just a Mountain Dragon, but I really expect that LG are very keen to make something happen. They can continue to sit and just kind of passively farm it out because they are a big, strong, mid-game power spike team, but they're right on the cusp of that. So if BLG get a little bit antsy before their team really comes online through their itemization, they will get punished very hard by LG at this point in the game.
Yeah, well, there goes the recall for Yuuki. That midpoint is getting even closer as he picks up an Abyssal Mask. You already mentioned the Guinsoo's Rage Blade, and completed Warriors for Eimy, who's getting closer and closer to his Black Cleaver. So it looks like LGD well aware of this window that they're trying to use. Now it's up to BLG to try to catch up and shut the window before LGD can get in.
And unfortunately, there's a bit of a mistiming here. You can see that SKS is actually on the top side of the map. He's taking his red buff, and there's this opportunity where Yuuki and Eimy are handing over the blue buff. Normally, teams really like to orchestrate some sort of bottom play. And you have to think, if Jarvan was bottom side, if Ryze was roaming down there as well because Cassiopeia would have to leave lane and give it to them, they could have punished the PYL and Imp being so far extended. But just kind of a missed opportunity for BLG. And this is the thing. They have the second longest average game time in the LPL. They never make plays in the lane phase. It's always just counter ganking or counteracting to whatever tempo the other team is doing.
Yeah, this was something that Clement actually mentioned on the analyst desk. It's a bit of like the tortoise versus the hare, but this time we've got one slightly faster tortoise, I should suppose, against the other. But now we see Jinjiao actually getting some good damage onto Imp in the bottom lane.
He should feel strong. He's got his 2 completed AD items as well as his attack speed item. There is opportunity for BLG to pay attention to their bot lane, and that's really the only place other than mid that they have kill pressure. So if it doesn't break in mid, it has to break in bottom.
Well, now we're starting to see Eimy feeling a little bit more confident. He's stepping into the river to clear out some of this vision from BLG. There aren't too many wards on the top half of the map, and Jinoo is actually walking all the way up, holding onto his teleport, though AmazingJ is pushing into his turret.
This tells me that they want to use the TP towards the bottom side of the map, which means what SKS and Eimy are doing right now is so important. It's a fight over the vision, because Eimy wants to break in and get these teleport wards behind this tower. You can already see BLG's bot side, it's about less than 50%. So LGD, they've got the itemization, they've got the TP on the top lane, they've also got control over the neutral river. It's just that final step, moving into the jungle, placing down this deep vision, and it's forcing SKS to just create like red zone defense.
Oh, Eimy with the flash knockup onto Athena manages to duck underneath the knockup of SKS, but a Realm Warp gets them out to safety as Yuuki collapses.
And that's a lot of health and now a key ultimate that's missing, and slowly but surely LG are going to overwhelm BLG's defense over this river, and they're going to win and get these wards behind them.
Imp immediately steps forward and takes a lot of damage.
Unless that happens.
Yeah, it was very confident, we can say that. I mean, he's playing around the heal, he's playing around the Trust Fall into PYL, but SKS is waiting just outside of vision.
He's also got fleet footwork.
Trying to heal himself up. That's going to be the knockup. PYL clipped by the edge of it, but still out of range and walks away.
So SKS getting a little bit antsy. They realize that LGD are applying too much pressure in the river, in the mid lane, in the bottom lane in particular, and they're just trying to find their way in to hold the fort.
BLG managing to hold ground so far, but if we take a look at this, it's nearly 1,300 gold lead for LGD in the laning phase with that one additional kill. No dragons, no turrets, just classic CS, classic mobility around the map. Plain and simple laning phase advantage.
And I was curious if they were going to use this back opportunity, LGD, to take the Mountain Dragon, but it must be a big item buy for Imp here, because they effectively had the window to say, okay, we know that the TPs are down from the Unsealed Spellbook on BLG's bot lane. We can actually just rotate towards the dragon, but I must be sitting on something large. And it was the Ninja Tabi as well as the recurve bow. So this Varus that much closer now to these 2-item power spike. LGD continuing to snowball, continuing to ramp.
Of course, that being said, BLG, they're still keeping pace. You look in the mid lane, it's a 12 CS lead for Athena. He's finished off 2 items, the Abyssal Mask and his Staff of the Seraphim. You've got the Static Shiv finished off for Jinjiao, so a much easier job keeping his turret safe.
Yeah, and that's the big one for me, and you said it right there, Dom. The ability to now push. It means that LGD will no longer have the push advantage in this lane unless Road and Jinjiao want it that way, where they lure them forward and try to set up for a gank or some sort of play from their top laners.
Yeah, that's the sort of build pivot that we expect from the likes of an intelligent AD carry. Classic Dom over here would just go for the, all right, Infinity Edge first because it's on the recommended items list, Static Shiv second.
Well, of course, the big difference is am I going to 5v5 team fight? If yes, then I want the crit. I can't crit a tower, so I wouldn't need the Infinity Edge. If I just want to push, then I want the Static Shiv and the flat AD items because it'll help me control the creep wave better and then do more damage to the towers themselves.
And look at how much it's freed up the bottom half of BLG. Now they've got control of the river. Now they're even starting to push forward and get some vision into the red side jungle of LGD. I hesitate to say this. Is it really just off the one item buy changing the dynamics of that lane?
No, it really is. It's a big deal, and it's why, you know, we always talk about the power spikes coming in, the itemization complete, but it does make differences like this. And so now, like you said, it's the shift of vision. Suddenly, BLG finally have neutral control vision over that river, and they're even starting to push in a little bit for offensive vision in LGD's red side jungle. And then that means you can create opportunities like this with the Braum and the hard CC, where you're starting to sit in bushes and set up traps and trying to find that PYL who likes to face check a little bit and punish him.
Well, seems like PYL not falling prey to some of his older sins just yet. The series has still got plenty of room to go. But LGD have now fallen back onto the map. They're taking a more defensive role. If we look to the top half, Jinoo and AmazingJ have just been farming back and forth the whole time. Yuuki is now relegated to sitting close to his turret, though Eimy has done a great job of setting up a ward line in the river.
Yeah, and Amy's actually going to be in trouble here. Imp and PYL will actually need to go on the defense because you can see that Yuuki's blue buff is up. So at some point, Cassiopeia and Rek'Sai will have to give up this pressure, which is what Road and Jinjiao are responding to. It's not Imp and PYL, it's the fact that Cassiopeia and Rek'Sai are blind on the map right now. But as soon as Rek'Sai and Cass walk over to the blue buff, it's going to give a big window of opportunity back to BLG. So it's kind of like a ping pong match right now between who's getting tempo and control over the bottom side.
Looks like we see that blue buff being started. Cassiopeia pulling back, and SKS is at his wolves. Pinging immediately towards the dragon, though. Even Ryze heading over there, as Athena seems to know. And finally, it all pays off. The dragon going to be picked up by BLG. Are there any skill shots that can steal this? Nah. Imp is hugging his turret? Nah.
Yeah, and Road's doing a great job making sure that he's getting very deep vision down the lane to check where Varus and Kench are to make sure that a stray arrow doesn't find its way into that pit. But love the call from BLG. Like I said, it was that tug of war, that ping pong match over tempo. The static shiv really swung things back into BLG's favor, and it was just waiting for Yuuki and Eimy to go for that blue buff before BLG saw their opportunity.
And now the tortoise trudges ever closer towards the finish line. That strong late game for BLG.
Yeah, because he's got an Infinity Edge strapped to his back
now.
now.
Oh yeah, the IE's also just been picked up by Jinjiao. Look at that, flash cleanse for both bottom laners for BLG. Perhaps they're predicting Imp to get a little bit antsy and just flash pull the trigger with those chains of corruption.
Which now means that Eimy is kind of your primary point of CC outside of Jinoo. So two of those big forms of CC are displacements, so the cleanse won't do as much comparatively to how it would react to a chains of corruption. So like you said, Imp doesn't really have much kill pressure left in this lane with two cleanses up, and it has to be up to the rest of the team. LGD grouping as 5 if they want to stop Jinoo and Road, because the more and longer this is isolated, BLG are actually just going to win the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing so much damage to this turret. They might even be able to get it this wave. There it goes. Clears out, and Jinjiao still takes a shot, but PYL and Imp are really struggling down here now. What a headshot.
And
Ouch.
so what this means is that they're going to call for assistance from Cassiopeia and Rek'Sai, and all SKS and Athena have to do is just keep tabs on them. Now, they're starting to fight over the chickens, but it's really over the positioning and the tracking of the jungler.
Wards just being traded over and over again. The blast cone even being denied, but it's BLG who, despite getting pushed in for the early half of the lane, managed to find their item tempo and take that first brick on the behalf of Jinjiao and Road. Still, the rest of BLG, they're riding their momentum straight towards the mid lane, perhaps catching LGD before they can rotate up.
Yep, continuing with the siege aspect of their composition. They have Braum, they have Caitlyn, they have Ryze. It's very dangerous when they approach a tower. Ryze's ability to lock you down, the threat of the dive from Jarvan if he happens to be in range, as well as his flag steroid to Caitlyn's siege potential. But this is kind of the make or break part of BLG's comp. They actually really should be strong right now, especially with the Wits In now completed on Varus, so they need to be very careful. They need to kind of get over this one last hump, and then they'll be good to go.
You can see Yuuki trying to get some damage onto Road, but take a look at that build path. Merc treads double, no magic mantle, no armor for the laning phase against Imp. He knows he's got one job, keep Yuuki away from Jinjiao. Already looking ahead towards this next fight, BLG are showing some serious foresight in this game.
And massive evolution. You know, Jinjiao hasn't been the guy that they've put all of their eggs into the basket for. He doesn't do a lot of damage, he doesn't get a lot of resources, second lowest on GPM.
Oh, they're looking for a fight, and they've managed to find it. Road gets picked off by Eimy. And are they turning towards the Baron? All 5 of them stacked up, full health and mana, but teleport coming in. AmazingJ from behind.
Yeah, and the feast is available here for AJ.
Smite is ready for Eimy, but can he outsmite a Cho'Gath? There's the rupture. Immediately LGD turn, and Imp misses the chains. Jinoo in the front, steps on a trap. Saved by PYL, but BLG still on the chase. Have got to send them all the way home.
But the thing is now BLG also have inside track on mid lane. I don't necessarily think that they needed 3 people for that scuttle grab, and they should have just immediately turned into it, but I think the damage has been done because it's a very low tower.
And with Jinjiao stepping forward, they still managed to break it down with the last minion auto. And now it's 2 turrets to 0. Though LGD are finding picks, they're just unable to do anything with it.
And it's about the efficiency of the picks. You know, what does that pick actually mean? Yes, where Road does a tendency where he does a lot of damage, like PYL, he also has a tendency to die a lot more than the other supports. Gets picked off right there, but a great TP from AJ and a great defensive setup from Athena just force LGD off of the Baron. And BLG frankly out-rotated LGD 3 times now as they're about to crack the outer layer of towers.
Yeah, you can start to see LGD are almost getting desperate for these fights. Anything they can do to try to catch BLG, who are frankly just outmaneuvering them around these turrets. Another wave is about to crash in, and that turret has no health.
And LGD are in position, but like you said, it doesn't matter. The tower has no health. And so at 25 minutes in, all of the outer rings are broken by BLG, and this is not what we're used to seeing from this team.
Yeah, this is very efficient for them as they're now pushing onto the blue buff. They've got the wave pushed in mid, they've got a wave pushed in bottom, and they turn for a fight. PYL steps too far forward, and LGD are split on 2 fronts. They try to back away, but BLG continue to chase. A quick feast, along with another surprising amount of burst damage, finds 2 kills onto Yuuki and PYL.
And they just got decimated, and the big go button there was the fact that Jinoo was on the bottom side of the map. Yes, he has the TP, but BLG have to play topside. They don't have the TP. The Baron was in play because LGD started at 24 minutes, so BLG knew that they had to sit up here for the 5-minute cooldown of the TP. They find a fight, they find the Baron.
26.5 minutes in, BLG are simply out-macroing LGD in their home stadium. I can't imagine what the fans of LGD in the arena must be feeling right now, because this is completely unprecedented from BLG. They're playing slow, they're playing smart, and they're finding what they need.
And again, we knew that BLG were going to stay on the top side of the map. They're waiting for AJ's TP to come back up, so he's going to be grouped back up with the team. And if you take a risky fight like this right in front of the Baron, that composition has Cho'Gath. They're going to very easily turn and just burn it.
And now with the Baron buff, 27 minutes in, recall completed, 3 items on Caitlyn, 3 items on Ryze. This is a big lineup from BLG, and they're just getting bigger.
And there's the breaking point. I said that BLG had to be careful around the mid game. That was kind of the last hurdle that they needed to get over. Now their composition is simply in front of LGD's, and it runs faster. It's going to outscale them. You have the itemization on Caitlyn. You have the itemization on Ryze. At this point, LGD are barely within touching distance of BLG, and they need to figure something out.
What's it going to take? Are we just looking for BLG to trip and fall and allow LGD to put some mileage between them?
Well, first and foremost, they need to get control over their jungle and get some defensive vision. They need to, okay, first survive the Baron.
Yes.
You just need to try to
give up as little as possible.
Exactly. Just as few towers as possible. Then you need to slowly start inching back into your own jungle and getting control of your defensive vision. They still have a lot of potential to find picks because of Cassiopeia and Tahm Kench, but they also need to be grouped up like this to do it, and they can't overcommit to fights because BLG are stronger than them right now. If they fall down with the Baron buff, their entire base will be decimated. So it's hit-and-run skirmishes from LGD.
That's what we saw just now, but they weren't quite able to turn it into anything except for a single minion wave that they delayed, but Jinjiao is happily clearing up the next one. AmazingJ with his teleport almost back up is meanwhile pushing bottom and keeping Jinoo occupied from using that Call of the Forge God to find a pick, but SKS is so omnipresent with these wards everywhere LGD go. There's a Jarvan already standing in the bush with a ward and a standard. BLG, they take 1, and they're about to turn it into 2 turrets.
Good setup from AJ, and good Ryze ultimate. LGD need to be very careful here.
Yeah,
they do have BLG spread out.
He's on the side, but as you said, Eimy and Yuuki have got to back away as the majority of BLG members bring a large minion wave bottom.
And again, LGD, unfortunately, they were looking for the pick, but found themselves out of position, which might mean that their inhib tower line will get cracked.
Chains of Corruption onto Cho. AmazingJ is chunked low, but SKS still forces the fight. That feast is ready. Imp in the middle goes down. Call of the Forge God is used late, and it's 3 members already dead, and the knockup is immediately denied. BLG ruthless in this fight.
But now they've got a creep wave behind them. They're looking to take down Yuuki. BLG could end the game here.
Yeah, that's a sidestep to keep himself up. His fast fingers will get him to the fountain, but it's not going to protect the Nexus. Teleport coming in from a full health Cho'Gath. But like you said, FLICKR, this is BLG 4 versus 1, slaughtering LGD in their home stadium.
this was the danger. LGD had to go for these little hit and run skirmishes. They need to try to keep it together, but BLG found the big 5v5 with the Baron buff and very quickly close out a 30-minute game.
Yeah, quick realm warp for the style points gets them back, but like you said, BLG taking the win. The fans a little less than enthusiastic inside of that LGD arena, but Bilibili Gaming coming out swinging. That is not a Bilibili I think any of us expected to see today.
I don't think it's one that LGD expected. I mean, Imps and Eimy's faces pretty much say it all. Clement said that this was going to be the tortoise versus the hare. I 100% agreed with him, but that tortoise just strapped some rockets and just zipped off.
He's got a jetpack, yeah. Oh man, the boulder rolls down and BLG roll over LGD in this game one. Athena looks like it wasn't even work for him.
And they did it with champions they don't normally do it. You know, coming into this series, I was looking at the Vladimir, I was looking at the Azir, and I was looking at a massive problem for BLG. Their solo lanes had such tiny, effective champion pools that EDG, Snake, they had created this blueprint to abuse BLG, to use these priority picks against them and then just destroy them in drafts, set up traps for them. And now, BLG have shown that they've evolved. They gave priority over to Jinjiao. They let him carry the game. They picked up the Ryze for Athena. This is a champion that they've almost 100% banned, finally playing it themselves, and AJ shows up with the Cho'Gath.
Take a look at that gold graph. So slow, patient. What is that, about 20 minutes almost on the dot?
That's the ramp that
that's
the turtle took
BLG
off
decide. Yeah, the slow start. Like Kai'Sa's overcharge. It just takes a while to kick off. And then once it does, boom, she launches forward. The fact that even the Ornn did the most damage for LGD in that game, just because he was trading with the Cho'Gath as much as he could. But LGD, I mean, it looked like they came in with the right idea. They were setting up. They were skirmishing over wards correctly. They found picks, but they just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I like the fact that you used the word right idea, because I do think it was the right idea from LGD to look for the 5v5, to build the composition like that, but it came down to execution. They looked for the skirmishes, they never really fought around Imp and Cassiopeia in the same place at the same time, and that was a lot of their strength.
Yeah, tragically didn't quite work out for them. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready for game number 2 between LGD and Bilibili.